You reach for the honey to soothe a child's sore throat, or to sweeten your tea, or to spread on a warm biscuit. The jar says honey. There is a friendly bee on the front. You have trusted it your whole life, the way your mother trusted hers. But here is a thing worth knowing, and I will be honest and careful with you about every word of it. A good deal of what is sold under the name of honey in this country is not pure honey at all. Some of it openly says so, right there on the label. If you only turn the jar and read, it is honey stretched with corn syrup, sometimes more corn syrup than honey. And some of it has been so heated and so filtered that the pollen, the very fingerprint that tells you where it came from, has been stripped clean away. You paid for the bee's work. You may have carried home mostly the corns. Now I want you to sit with that, because it need not be so, and knowing a few plain things will set it right. There was a time a family kept its own bees, or knew the neighbour who did, and the honey on the table came from a hive you could walk out and look at. Nobody read a label, because nobody needed to. There is no great mystery to knowing real honey from the stretched and the false. There never was. It is mostly a matter of turning the jar over and reading what is written there, with clear eyes, and knowing what the words mean. I am Annie Stoltzfus. I am Amish, from Lancaster County in Pennsylvania, and honey has been on my table my whole life, much of it from hives within a few miles of my door, the way my mother kept it, and her mother before her. Today I will walk you through 9 kinds of so-called honey that are not pure honey, and I will be plain about which ones openly admit it on the label and which have only been questioned. For I will not call a thing false that I cannot show you. And then I will give you the old way to know the real thing for certain. One thing before I begin. There is far more of these old ways than I could fit into a single video. So I gathered them into a book, 66 of them, the kitchen and the cooking pot and the breadboard and the rest of the house, with the honest savings written beside each one. It is at amishkitchenwisdom.com for anyone who wants the whole of it. I will not bring it up again. If you would like it, you know where to find it. Now, let me show you how to know your honey. Let me begin with the ones that hide nothing, for these are the surest. These first few tell you right on the label that they are not pure honey, if you only know to look. The first is the little honey sauce that comes with your fried chicken, the packet from a place like KFC. Now this is a thing many folks squeeze onto a biscuit thinking it is honey. Turn it over. The first thing listed is not honey at all. It is high fructose corn syrup, then ordinary corn syrup, then sugar. And only after all of those, the honey itself, about 7 parts in 100. It does not even call itself honey. It calls itself a honey sauce. And that one word, sauce, is the law's quiet way of telling you it is mostly something else. The second is the same story from another counter, the honey sauce from a place like Popeyes. Honey, yes, but right alongside it, corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup and sugar. Again, a sauce, not honey. These little packets are honest enough on the label. It is only that nobody turns them over. The third is the food service honey packet you find in diners and lunchrooms. Packets from sauce makers like the Sour Company, where the label plainly lists high fructose corn syrup first, then honey, then more corn syrup and sugar. Mostly syrup, with honey along for the name. The fourth is a kind of jarred blend you will find on store shelves and online, sold under names like El Metate. And this one is remarkable for its honesty. Its own description calls it a honey blend and tells you it is corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, and honey. The syrup's named first because there is more of them. It is near all corn syrup, with a little honey and a little colouring to make it look the part. It is not hiding. It is just counting on you not to read. The fifth is the big food service jugs of so-called blended honey, products sold with names like Dashers or Topfu that say, right on them, blend of corn syrup and honey. These go to restaurants and bakeries by the gallon, and they are exactly what they say. Part honey, mostly syrup. Now, Those 5 I can stand behind without a shadow of doubt, because the labels confess it themselves. The next ones I must speak of more carefully, and I will, because I would never have you believe I am telling you something is false when I cannot prove it. The 6th is not a honey at all, but it fools the eye, and it belongs in this telling. The table syrups dressed up to look like honey or maple, sold under names like Mrs. Butterworth's or Log Cabin. Turn them over, and the first thing you read is corn syrup. They never claim to be honey, mind, but they sit near it, they pour like it, and many a person has reached for one thinking it the natural thing. It is corn syrup with colouring, and nothing more. The 7th is the matter of honey, with its pollen stripped away. And here I must be careful and fair. Back in the year 2011, a food news outlet had a great many store honeys tested by a pollen scientist at a Texas university. What he found was that most of the honey from the big grocery and drug and discount stores had had all its pollen filtered out. Now hear me plain. That is not the same as saying corn syrup was added. It was not. It meant the pollen, the part that tells you which fields and which country the honey came from, had been filtered away, so you could no longer trace it. That was years ago, and the honey board disputed what it meant. And I will not tell you those stores are selling fake honey today, for I do not know it, and the testing did not say it. I tell you only this. Honey, with no pollen in it, is honey that cannot tell you where it came from. And that is worth knowing when you choose. The 8th is imported honey of uncertain origin. And here I lean on the government's own findings, plainly stated. More than 7 in 10 pounds of honey eaten in this country come from abroad. And when the Food and Drug folks tested imported honey a few years back, they found about 1 jar in 10 was violative, stretched with sweeteners that did not belong, and labelled honey all the same, 1 in 10. Not the half that some loud voices will tell you, and I will not exaggerate it to frighten you. But 1 in 10 of the imported is enough that a careful soul pays attention to where her honey was made. The 9th is not a brand at all, but a trick of words on the label, and it is the one I most want you to carry home. The jar that says blend of US and non-US honey. That phrase is lawful, but it tells you almost nothing on purpose. It means the honey was gathered from here and from anywhere, blended together, with no country named and no way for you to know. It may be perfectly good honey, but a jar that will not tell you where it was made is a jar keeping a secret, and I would sooner buy from one that has nothing to hide. Now, before I show you the old way to know the real thing, let me be fair, the way I always try to be. For there is another side, and you deserve it. When an industry group had 30 of the top-selling store honeys tested a few years back, every one of the ones labelled pure honey came back as real honey, not stretched. Only the ones openly labelled as blends were blends. So I will not stand here and tell you that most of the honey on the shelf is false. I do not believe that, and the testing does not show it. What I am telling you is narrower and truer. That some honey is openly cut with syrup and says so, that some has had its origins filtered away, and that the only way to be sure is to know what you are buying. Now let me take a moment, for this is where it comes together. The old way to know real honey, with your own eyes and hands and a little sense. The first thing is the label, and it is 9 parts of the whole. Turn the jar over before you ever buy it. If corn syrup or sugar is in the list, it is not pure honey, however the front is dressed. If it calls itself a sauce or a blend, believe it. And look for where it was made. A country, a state, a beekeeper you could name. A jar that says only blend of US and non-US honey is a jar that will not look you in the eye. The second thing is the price, kept in plain sense. Real honey is dear because the bees and the beekeeper work hard and slow for it, and there is only so much. Cheap syrup costs a fraction. When a great jar sells for far less than every other, that low price is not a kindness. It is a hint of what is filling it. The third thing is to buy where you can ask. Honey from a beekeeper at the market, from a farm stand, from a neighbor with hives, honey from a soul who can tell you which flowers the bees worked. Needs no test at all, for you can see the keeper and the hive both. You cannot fake a face. And one honest word, since the internet is full of them. Most of the little kitchen tests you may have heard of, dropping honey in water or touching a match to it, do not truly tell you much, for stretched honey can pass them, and real honey can fail them. I will not sell you a parlor trick. The one with any truth in it is this: real honey, given time in a cool place, will mostly thicken and turn to fine crystals like soft sugar. That is not spoilage. That is the mark of the real thing. Honey that stays glassy and runny forever and never once crystallizes is worth a second look. But even that is a soft sign, not a proof. The label and the source will tell you 10 times more than any glass of water. And here is the thing I would have you carry with you. There is no money in teaching folks to read the honey label and buy from the keeper down the road. The great packers would far rather sell you the cheap, stretched, well-traveled jar and have you none the wiser. Nobody runs an advertisement teaching you to turn the jar over and read corn syrup off the back, because there is nothing in it for them to sell. So the knowing of it got quiet, the way the good plain ways do when there is no profit in saying them aloud, back in the days when honey came from a hive down the lane and a person had no need to read a label at all. So this week, take down the honey in your cupboard and turn it over, and read every word on the back. Slow. See what it tells you, and see what it hides. And the next time you pass a beekeeper's table at a market, with the jars lined up and the keeper standing behind them, buy one, and ask which flowers the bees worked. It will cost you more, and it will be worth it, and it will be honey. Then tell me in the comments, what did the label on your honey say when you turned it over? And did your family ever keep bees or buy from someone who did? The little knowings are exactly the kind of thing that gets lost when nobody writes them down, and I read every one. Until then, keep the plain things close. They were never half so simple as they looked.